Welcome. In today's video, we are going to fully equip you with how to use this, the Artificial Intelligence Decomposition Tree in Power BI. This visual is awesome. This video that you're watching today is going to teach you how to set this up both with artificial intelligence splits based upon relative and absolute values, as well as the best practices for how to incorporate this within a dashboard for a holistic design that just impresses people. So take a minute, hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching. Let's dive into Power BI and we're going to show you how to use this. Let's go. All right, here we are. Firstly, this file is available in the GitHub link in the description of this video. Open it and follow along. You'll also see a tab for key influencers, which is a visual tutorial I recently did as well, so you can see that video too. But this is about the decomposition tree. So the way this video is going to go down today is first, I'm going to give a quick overview of the dashboard and how to use this, as well as demo the visual. Then secondly, I'm going to dive into the data set so you can see what we're working with. Then I'm going to copy this tab, make a brand new one, delete the AI visual and set it up. You're going to be able to understand how to use this visual and it's awesome. So why is it awesome? It's great at just quickly segmenting your data based on two things, based on what you know and based upon what you don't know. What do I mean by that? So you can see all these things are flipping. We're gonna dive into how to set it up and what's happening here. But first, at a high level, let's just tour this dashboard. So I'll remove these columns so you can kind of see some stuff in action within the visual. And again, we'll talk about setting it up. We'll talk about how it works. I first just want to show you from like an end user perspective, how you can incorporate this. So first, a nice looking dashboard utilizing Olympic data. On the left-hand side, you'll see there's filters for summer, winter games, male, female, whatever you want to pick. On the left-hand side, you'll see sports, gymnastics, and notice that the visual in the middle is changing all the time. This is a key thing when you're setting up this visual or anything. You need to take into the whole landscape of what you're building. So we'll get into that, but that's a very important thing. So on the left-hand side, there's sports. On the top, there are years. So we can analyze a year and what happened. We can analyze a sport. We can filter it to a specific male or female sex, and we're good to go. So let's talk about the visual itself, and then we'll dive into how to set it up and how to use it. Firstly, what's this thing doing? So I have it locked, and I'll talk about that in a little bit, to both medal awarded and team, because no matter what the person's seeing, I want them to always start by saying, here's a medal, and then here's all the teams that are associated with that and ranking them. We'll talk about relative and absolute values in a minute, but right now, how this works, it's very awesome. So we'll set it up, but it's currently set up for absolute values. So what that means is that whatever is the most will come next. But let's back it up. What does this AI visual do? Before we dive into it, let me first jump to the data so we know what we're talking about here. So this data set, it has all these Olympic events. Every row is an event. Somebody gets a medal or did not medal. As you can imagine, a lot of people don't medal in these events, but there's going to be both on the right-hand side. Let me turn on the cursor and the animation. On the right-hand side, you'll see their competitor attributes, which are things like age, height, weight, things that we can analyze things by. Then there's categorical event attributes like the sport or the city it was in or the team. If we look at the data here, we'll see that replicated, where you'll have an index of the row, the specific event, the year, the team, the sport, events fall under a sport, the year, the season, the city, if a medal was awarded, the region, and then physical attributes as well as the person's name. So that's our data set. And it's great. I got it from Kaggle. I'll put a link here as well, but go to GitHub, you'll see it. So let's talk about now this decomposition tree and this dashboard. All right. First, I'm going to demo how the AI component is generating the splits. I've set this up to lock in the medal and the team, and right now I've clicked gold, so I'm interested to analyze gold attributes based upon the absolute value of whatever's highest, and I'll talk more about that in a second. So what's that doing in this exact screen? It's saying that the United States, they're at the top, over all time has the most gold medals. What if I click a sport, cycling, Denmark? Everything starts changing. You can scroll up, you'll see it's actually Italy. You can sort things different ways, but we'll stick with, we'll come back here and I'll click say fencing. Okay, things sort, gymnastics, you can see everything's changing. Same with year. So that's a fundamental thing of how this visual functions, but now let's look at the AI side of this thing. So say we're looking at, oh, I don't know, we'll pick swimming, we'll pick athletics, most categories there. So on the left-hand side, I'm gonna click athletics and scroll up. Here we are, and we'll get up to that more. All right, now I wanna ask the visual one question. If you click the plus sign, and again, this is not about configuring it, it's just the end user, I can ask the engine to say, all right, myself, I wanna see what's next for age. Which age is at the top? So if I click age, it's gonna show me. All right, 22 is at the top. All right, and there's 237. That's not artificial intelligence though, that's just analytic capabilities. But what you can do is, if you click United States, I have it configured for artificial intelligence splits based upon the absolute value. So this is gonna tell me, hey, of all the categories that remain, return the highest category value of anything. So I click this, 22. So age 22, 237. That means that that number 237 of all the different segments of age, of height, of I think weight that I put into this, 237 people have the age of 22. If I continue, and you can see that's designated as an artificial intelligence decision because it has a light bulb next to it. That's clutch. The light bulb says, this is what I think you want to see. So if we continue, I'll say, okay, show me the high value now after age, and they might pick a different category. Height, okay. So there, of these, you can see 32, 19, 17, 15, 13. The height is 183 is the most popular. Let's go one more level. High value again. It's obviously gonna be weight, that's all that's left over. But we'll see 73. But now what's cool about this is it did arrange those columns left to right for the 3 insights it selected. But if users choose other categories, and that's why the filtering around the perimeter is so important, it will change the columns that are returned, the way that this is segmented, because it changes with everything you click. So let's look at that. If I just click fencing, oops, it's on the formatting. If I click wrestling, age, it's still there with number 6. If I click gymnastics, oh, now height became the most important. Age is on the far right because of United States, which I have selected, 157, or there's 9 values for the height of 157 centimeters. So that's a very cool thing. And how it's arranging this is based upon absolute value. So again, we're gonna configure it, but I'll just show you those differences right now. If we go into the visual, under the analysis tab, there's absolute, and that again is showing whatever the largest value is for each category and then breaking it down from there. If I change it to relative, this is showing the greatest difference between every value and putting that at the top. So if I click, Australia, blanks are at the top, 70. So that difference, it changes. It's not, sometimes it happens to be the highest value, but as well as sometimes it's not, because it sorts it now by, I want to find a good example for you. Let's take a look at, so in this case, 37, 30, blank, the blanks are still at the highest, but you can tell that the relativeness is being utilized now for how it's going to bring things back. And as we click through, we'll find an example for that. So let's configure this thing further. When we go, I'll change it back to absolute for now, and you'll see things will change. Sometimes the absolute value is the relative value, which was just happening when I was clicking a lot of things there. What you'll notice on the visual as well is these blanks. I don't want it to sort by, I don't care about blanks. So in my analysis, you can always right click something and click exclude. And now we're only gonna look at actual values. But what's neat is as you click through this, it's creating, based upon this red line, a link that says that's what I care about analyzing. So what we've just done is we've said for gold, United States, well, let's look all the way through the chain for the weight of 73, and it's just swimming in athletics. This part keys off the filters. So you can interact and kind of move the line around and change the filters of what you're looking at. If I click alpine skiing, you can see because on the far right, I selected the 75 for kilograms for weight, it's keeping that in there. But let's say we want to do this. You can remove the various categories we set, and maybe we want to look at swimming again. And I want to say, I don't want the artificial intelligence to tell me what's next, but I absolutely want to see after whatever I pick, I want to see for swimming, I want to see the weight. I think weight's going to be important. So this is telling me of all the people who got gold, the weight is 38 units of 91, 38 gold medals for that weight. If I go up, 77. So that's at the top. And what you can do is lock that in if you feel like it. So now what that means is similarly to how I have the team and the medal awarded, well, the end users who are going to open up your dashboard, that's going to be there. And it will allow you to interact with the visual in just a little bit more of a lockdown way. So that's a tour of it, and you can use it to get a ton of insights. But let's talk about how to configure it. When you go into it, a similar thing about these AI visuals is the configuration is typically the easy part. The hard part is understanding how to use it and how to interpret the results. So I'll also put a link that will detail out all these paragraphs about what each section does so you can read through if you desire. But it's really, what I'm telling you is summating what it says. So the way that you set this up, we're gonna do it together. So I'm going to duplicate this page, and now I'm gonna delete this visual. Click this, delete. All right, so let's set up a brand new one. Under the artificial intelligence visuals, I'm gonna pick decomposition tree. Let's have it fill up this dashboard space. And what do we wanna do? So in this case, I want to analyze by the medal awarded. That's what I care about. So, actually this is a little different. This is a very important step. What you need to do is we're actually counting the number of events and then segmenting out those events. So when you're going to analyze something, I highly suggest you pick like your main measure if it's sales. I want to analyze the total sales. I want to analyze the total events, and then put perimeter filters and different charts around the perimeter to narrow that down. So in this case, we're going to be analyzing the events. So I'm going to click events on the right, add it to analyze. You'll see number of events, 271,000. That all correlates. If I come over here and click wrestling, you can see now it's all the wrestling events that happened. This number right here, 5893, 5893. So it all checks out. It's a very cool way to interact these things. And then simply, anything you want to explain it by or potentially drill into, just add it. Doesn't matter what order or how you do it. For this analysis, I care about things that are kind of unique about the competitors. Like I don't care about the city, but I do care about the age, the height. The sex is already a filter, but you can add it if you want to have that segmentation. Weight and medal awarded, that's very important. That's like the first one. And then I'll show you some logical reasons how to choose certain things. And then maybe we'll do team. And so we have all these things. Well, if you just first start clicking, and tooltips. So if you want to add additional things like number of gold medals, number of bronze, number of whatever, just create the calculations you want. simply drag them to the tooltips and they'll show up as you hover and highlight over things. But we have to still talk about configuring and formatting. So when we click plus, I don't like necessarily how, you can just start picking values, but I like to try to frame up a story for my end users. I ultimately care about the number of metals, but if you know that people are going to want to say, analyze teams, well, let's do a totally different analysis than we did before. So I'm going to start with team. So it's going to, team is too detailed. We want to bring in the, no, we want to do team. Let's go with team. So bring that team back in. And it is really detailed. So what you'll first notice is that you can't tell what's going on and you need to sort these values. So when you set this visual up, always enable sort by the number of events. Boom. Now we have the things that are important at the top. Always ensure to set that up. You need to have this thing make sense. So in this case, we're going to do this analysis on the duplicate one by team. And I want to lock that in. So it's always going to show up. And now I already demoed kind of how you can go through these things, but let's talk about the formatting. So a good step is to just add every possible category. And at this point, I'll use the splits. You see, because we did it this way, there's more blank values, which we can eventually exclude. But that's why I like to kind of lock things in. So we'll always say, we're always going to show this as well. All right. And if you start picking sports and things, that's where everything will filter. And you can navigate through this, but maybe we don't care about blanks, exclude those, gold, you're seeing how it works. All right, let's talk about all of the formatting options and how you can adjust this, because there's different settings you use for the bars based upon the length of fill and the width. So I'm going to show you how to set those up. The size and style is very standard, like any other dashboard or any other visual. Simply the placement and overall formatting features like padding and background. The title, I always turn this off. We don't need to know it's a key or a decomposition tree. That's obviously there. But what is important is first this analysis. So always make sure that enable AI splits is on. If it's off and you take these away, I'm actually going to redo this because I just like having the metal awarded first. I just think it makes so much more sense. So if we have this set without AI splits enabled, someone clicks plus, they don't have the option to say, pick which one could be most important next. So that's why it's very valuable to have that. So we picked age, and let's see if anything changes when we toggle between relative and absolute. I want to find a good example where that happens so it can be helpful. Let's allow this to expand to height. We'll analyze gold. And what's cool is you can see as you click something, it filters everything around it. So we're seeing all the gold metals. Let's go all the way through the tree to 170. We'll come back to 24. These happen to be all the same. Team. Absolute and relative are staying the same. But if you have examples, I'm sorry I can't pull one up on the spot. But when you do have the difference, what it does is it takes the variantial difference between the values and ranks that, the relative amount of how these things correlate versus the absolute. So I guess I'll talk through it. So if something has like a value of 1 million and then another value has 1,000,001, well, if we count absolute, that's going to be at the very top. But if we do a relativeness to the data itself, that only has a variantial difference of 1. There might be a different category that has a higher a higher gradient of variance. So let's just keep on going. Now, when you set this up, if you go to the tree, this is important as well. So I'm going to open this up and add weight. Under default, depending upon the space, what you'll notice is the canvas doesn't scroll to the left or the right. So, oh, and also a very important thing is you want to go to enable options, enable interactions to filter all instead of highlighting. When you're clicking on the perimeter of this, football, sailing, you can see how it's changing everything. If yours is just highlighting, then if you go to report options, this report file, you can click enable cross filtering by default, and we'll set it up to change this to cross filtering versus highlighting, which is just a nice way to go about this stuff. So when we come back into here, the default action, the density of expanding or collapsing, you want to base that upon how much canvas you have to work with, because it will overtake and you won't be able to scroll. The connectors, they have the option under this section to change the line color. You know, I think I want to do red so it all kind of matches. The unselected line gray, that's good. It kind of enables it to be grayed out, which is nice. And the bars, this is another important fill thing. So in this case, we're looking at the number of events for bronze. And if we continue to click through this thing, what we're going to see is that the bars fill up maximum width every single time. And we have the options to say, well, we want to change it up. So if we say we go to gold and we go to the different options here, if you do top node, what that's doing is it's saying this is the top node. So everything is going to filter based upon what you select in the top node or based upon the fill here. So ultimately, it's going to be pretty sparse with what you're looking at. The parent node is going to go to the level before what you have there. Like if we go back up to there. But, you know, if we click did not metal, you'll see the same. I'll clear some of these out just to kind of make it easier. So if we just focus right here to talk through these bars, again, if we go top node, it's scaling it based upon this. We'll add one more. We'll go team. But that doesn't really work too well. When you see the highest one up here, you can't tell visually that it's important because it's all scaling from that. So level maximum means whatever is at the top of that category is always going to be filled up, which is a great way to look at it. Did not metal, it starts at the very top. The parent node, this says, I'm going to take all these values and add them up into tiny little squares to essentially have a percentage of the total. So did not metal comes to here. If you stack these up based upon the parent node, then they'll all add up. For the overall eye catching, put the level to maximum. It's just going to help the viewers catch that up. Color, it's very simple for positive or negative. You can switch that up as you want to. The category labels, again, font color, background color. The display units, I like to have those set typically to none, just to ensure the full values there, because you're always going to have text above it, so you'll have enough room to work with within there. And then if you do want to do any conditional formatting, then you can, my little picture is hovering over that, but you can click here. And if you want to have like a gradient scale for the bars, this is where you can set that up, and you'll be set up. So this is a great visual for you to enable an automatic deciphering of what are the key ranked dimensions within any calculation that can make a difference, and then allow users to kind of click through and explore based upon their own questions that they have. So I suggest take some time, set this up, follow along in the visual I created, and please hit me up with any questions or comments, and thank you all very much. Talk to you later. Have a good day. Bye.